In a compelling address at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar delivered a firm and forward-looking message, calling for peace, dignity and reform in a world grappling with deepening divides. Opening his speech with a greeting that resonated with India's civilizational ethos, he said, "Namaskar from the people of Bharat." EAM marked 8 decades since the founding of the UN, reminding the global community that the Charter of the United Nations is not just a call to prevent war, but a duty to build peace and uphold human dignity.
Not just to prevent war, but to build peace. Not just to defend rights, but to uphold the dignity of every human being. It challenges us to stand as good neighbors, uniting our strength so that generations to come inherit a world of justice, of progress, and of lasting freedom. Madam President, forces unleashed by history since the founding of the UN propelled this body forward. As decolonization advanced, the world began to return to its natural diversity. The membership of the United Nations quadrupled, and the organization's role and remit grew significantly. In the era of globalization, its agenda evolved even further. Development goals took center stage, even as climate change emerged as a shared priority. Trade acquired greater prominence, while food and health access were recognized as essential to global well-being.
India has faced the horrors of terrorism for decades, and it is the lived reality that shaped the External Affairs Minister's strong message on the global stage at the UNGA. He slammed Pakistan's long sponsorship of terror, calling terrorism a threat without borders. Jaishankar urged nations to unite, declaring there can be no justification ever for terror. Fighting it, he said, is not just a national priority, but a global responsibility.
Having a neighbor that is an epicenter of global terrorism. For decades now, major international terrorist attacks are traced back to that one country. UN's designated lists of terrorists are replete with its nationals. The most recent example of cross-border barbarism was the murder of innocent tourists in Pahalgam in April this year. India exercised its right to defend its people against terrorism and brought its organizers and perpetrators to justice. Because terrorism is a shared threat, Madam President, it is essential that there is much deeper international cooperation. When nations openly declare terrorism a state policy, when terror hubs operate on an industrial scale, when terrorists are publicly glorified, then such actions must be unequivocally condemned.